All right. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the 2022 Lean Higher Ed Conference. Thank you so much for attending today's session, which is a slice of lean with a side of encouragement, which we will run as a learning session for 45 minutes. My name is Lauren Cairns, and this is my colleague Bahari Sabarai. We are the moderators for the session. Just a couple of housekeeping things before we get going. Please stay on mute. We will be encouraging you to keep your camera on just for engagement and connection and more of that networking. And we would like for this session, if you could please pop your questions in the chat, but we will come to the questions at the end of the session. Other than that, give Kevin a round of applause for the session today. It's an honor to welcome him. He's Associate Director at the Center of Operational Excellence at the University of San Diego. Welcome, Kevin, and welcome everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren, so much. No, welcome everybody. It is so fun, even more fun than I expected to see the familiar faces in the room today. I really appreciate you all being here. As she said, I'm Kevin Waldrop, and I prepared for you a slice of lean with a side of encouragement, and that's quite a feat because I'm not a cook. So, as she said also, I am with University of California in San Diego, right here on the map, and for the Center for Operational Excellence. So one thing, before we go any further, I want to give you a heads up that we're going to need a different map than this one. You're going to need kind of a mind map, but really more of a roadmap to share my crazy thought process of selecting a topic for this. So maybe it'll sound familiar and you won't be lost without a map. You'll be okay. But I'll check in with you all in a few minutes when we're going to do a Zoom poll together. So get your Zoom voting finger ready, about 5 minutes. And if there's time at the end, I have a guessing game, and I have a feeling some of you will get some of these answers right. Okay, you all ready? Let's get going. So I decided to do a talk, surprise, I'm here. It's for Lean HE, right? But what happened after that? The first thing that went through my head is I need a good topic. I need a great topic. Oh, great topic. All right, the pressure already gets started at that point. And then I start thinking of what advice do I always hear from people when you're trying to consider when and what to give a talk about? Like, what are you working on? What's new? What are you doing that works well? Okay, good advice, but will it be perfect? I mean, to me, most talks come across as perfect stories. Well, not always perfect, but mostly. But they're not. And people struggle, and sometimes the struggle comes through, and we adapt, and we make it through. So maybe I don't have to worry about it being perfect. But then I thought, well, what would I want to hear if I'm on the listening side? I want to hear that you struggle too. Well, not because of the struggle part, because I want to hear what you did about it. What was inspiring that got you through that struggle? I want to hear about your creative solutions. Your story can help me believe that there's hope. So maybe that's what I'll aim for. But then I start thinking of topics from my own projects and which one's right. One of them, it's too large. The scope is just too large to talk about in one session. Or another one is too small. It's a short conversation and this would be over in 5 minutes. Some of them are too complex. I have acronyms and specifics, so you just get lost. Or it may be too simple. Which one's right for this audience, you all that I see here on the screen in front of me? This audience that's international. Oh gosh, the pressure. It's truly international. But you know what? It's intentionally international. It's Lean HE. We are a cross section from different people with different personal and professional experiences, different experience levels. Even in this room, as I'm looking at you all now, I can tell. But even though we're from different countries, in a variety of social norms, leadership structures, I've heard about the differences in some of our coffee chats. We have a vast history of our universities, and it all comes together. But what's the benefit in that? As I'm trying to think of a topic and trying to choose, that we have more to choose from when you're listening, because you're listening for that golden nugget, that memorable takeaway, hopefully, and some advice or a new idea. Okay, so then I started feeling better. I worked through all these mental activities to get to a topic, but then what about the topic or the project? So I am working on a lot of projects, but which one's going to be ready? Some of them are interesting, and to a diverse and international audience, it may or may not be interesting, but I don't know. Maybe I could focus on a meaningful step in the process of this project or several projects or a tool that was useful. But I wonder what the audience, you all, think is your favorite lean tool in the process. Do you all use change management while you're doing lean? Well, there's one way to find out. I'm going to have to ask. So let's do a Zoom poll. And like I said, get your Zoom finger ready here. These are the questions on the screen, but the Zoom poll should pop up in just a second. And please go ahead and vote and answer those. And let's see what we have in the room. I'm watching for that to pop up.
We're just trying to get that sorted in the background here.
Let me see if I can do that from here. There. Does it show?
Not yet.
Is it on the screen?
There we go.
There. All right. So as you can see, looking for your and one answer each. I know you probably have several favorites in this step, and I'm curious, I know which one it might not be. But how frequently do you blend change management with your lean work? You know, if you're doing it right now, maybe I can convince you to change and come back to the conversation. Maybe you don't even know what that is, and you're like, "Do what? I don't do that." And then, kind of my favorite question is, what is the D in the ADKAR model for change management? So it could be number 5, duck, if things are flying across the room. All right, give it just a second here. It looks like some answers are coming in. All right, most of you have participated. Let's go ahead and call that and check out what we've got. I think you all can see this on the screen as well. Define, a little measure, lots of analyze, some improve, and little control. I expected the control. I thought there would be more improve. I've heard in other groups like, oh, they really want to get in there and improve. But I love that there's a lot of define and analyze. We'll see that a little bit later today. Change management. You're doing it right now. I love it. Sometimes, if I'm lucky, fairly often. All right. That's awesome. Desire. Absolutely. Absolutely. The awareness, desire, knowledgeability, and reinforcement of ADKAR. Excellent. Quack, quack. Thanks for that. All right. Well, let's move on from that. Close out the poll there. Thank you for that participation. You know, getting in that mindset of some of these steps as I walk through some projects will help you identify those. So one of the things, let's get back up here. You know, when we think about comparing DMAIC model and the ADKAR model, you know, lean versus change management, sometimes we do it without even noticing. And other times we're doing it very purposefully. One of the things that I wanted to point out on this that came while I was thinking of these projects was desire. It was very important in one of the projects, and I love that it coincides with measure and analyze. We can see this when you're doing a Gemba walk and you're going through somebody's area and like, what are you going to do to us? You know, it's like they need some desire to work with you, some curiosity. And while you're analyzing the process, maybe that can come through. So given that, that makes me think of which project I should tell you about. Now, I could tell you about Napper, but it's too basic and it's too small. Maybe that's too short of a conversation. And I'm just one person doing this little project called Napper. But then as I started looking at it and shining some light on the topic and the people involved and the impact that it has, you get big visibility and impact just by diving in or shedding a little light on it. So in this project, it was called New Academic Programs, and the approvals are required all the way from the unit to the vice chancellor, sometimes all over campus to get there. This form was a PDF, and then it became a fillable PDF, all handled through paper and then through emails, lots of process, lots of people. So the step involved with this that rose to the top was analyze. And through that, we're looking to lean the process. And additionally, it needed to improve. And we needed to remove the waste of over-processing. Also had to match the authority with the approval, who's responsible for the task, who's accountable for the signing process. The tool that I listed up here is 5Wise. And we also did Gemba and Process Map, but there's a lot of value in asking a lot of questions when you're going through the analysis part. 5Wise is not always for root cause. You can ask a lot of 5Wise everywhere. Why is this process done at all? And why does the form need to come here? And why do they need to sign? And why do they receive a copy? So after leaning the process, I use Koali Build. It's a third-party app for front-end forms and back-end workflows. We have a campus license. So I use that to put together and have this map go through the whole process. So what attracted me to this a little bit was that it contained too many approvals. And I have a feeling that this may be culturally similar across the globe. So that was one project I considered. But I could tell you about my early access project. But on that project, there wasn't really a solution. It didn't work. So what's the point of telling you about a project that didn't work? I mean, it had a goal, and it's to improve the process for a specific group of instructors that they needed to gain early access before their official start date to Canvas, which is an online tool for course materials. And they needed to do it soon, fall quarter. Oh, wait, it's past fall quarter. We missed it. So it's not over. The problem still exists. The current state still contains a lot of extra processing, extra ID accounts. Those become defects, lots of waiting, unused talent. Yeah, it was a mess. And so in the steps, we were trying to improve, but we didn't improve yet. Cross that off. But one thing that did rise is Gemba. Now, if you get a text from someone and it says, I, period, miss, period, you, for emphasis, I miss you. Seeing your faces, I do, I miss you. I wrote Gemba that way because in this process, I Gemba'd my little heart out. It is, I use that 5Wise on top of 5Wise and then a process map for that. This is the process map that 6 varying ways to do the same thing, but they mix and match all the steps inside of there, and some of them are new. So that's what I ended up with the story. And that story, when I paint it by numbers, is the 6 process varieties. But there are 4 to 20 additional staff in the process because this access is early, more than if a standard process. I interviewed 24 different units, 26 pages of typed notes, and 39 subject matter experts that I talked to, many of them in multiple conversations. And so at my estimates, it's about 60 staff hours of meetings. That's a lot of time. So the root cause in all of this story is that we came up against a UC policy. University of California, all 10 campuses across the state, not just our local. And that policy has to do with the official start date is not really in alignment with the reality of the work that needs to be done before classes begin. And every unit involved in this process that I talked to has looked at it, some of them for years, trying to find solutions in the technical. Can we work around? Can we change the process? And they're doing workarounds upon workarounds, which is why we have 6 different process maps. That's the current state. So what do I do with that? What do I do next? What do I do next is kind of think about the lessons that we've learned. In this process, the next thing I can do is gather up the measurements that we've taken about the specific waste results and share it upward beyond the stakeholders, beyond the sponsors of this original scope. Take it up. But the root cause involves the UC policy, so it's got to go in that direction. The other thing that I find really interesting about this is thinking outside of the scope. I'm a detail person. This is my scope. This is it. How this came about, I had a small group of subject matter experts, kind of in a final meeting, just to wrap up and clarify some discussions that have been taking place that weren't really affecting Canvas out of scope, affecting Canvas that's in scope, but they were talking about things that were out of scope. And their ideas about these other areas started to sound like there might be some residual help in that. So the next thing we're going to do, aka a lesson learned, is keep going. We're going to explore an unconventional, maybe long way around the process, but keeping an eye on the measurements to see if that's less effort, less people. It might sound out of the way, but we'll try. Got to keep going. So there's that. Didn't go well, but we'll see what happens. But I could tell you about this other project, and this one it's not completed. It has a massive timeline to it, and the reach on this is pretty widespread. And it's about, come back. There we go. That was fun. It's about business office ticketing. This one has been underway for several years, currently involves 4 business offices, 2 or 3 more possibly. But there are 6 intake methods in emails to receive the requests that they're working on. And the goal is to standardize to a single ticketing system using ServiceNow. Several projects within a project in this one. In the first one, kind of looking at here, that with our student employment coordinators, they use an existing tool in G Sheets. It's a sheet, it's a spreadsheet for tracking and data collection at the same time. We did 2 exercises with this group to really analyze. We used 4 L's. What do you like about this tool? What is it lacking? What can you leave alone? What's lame about it? It's in there, but it's lame. To explore to see, can this tool be made better? And we kind of, from there, moved into improve. And we used this other tool of which for what. And both of these created in Lucid Spark whiteboarding tool. But in an improve phase, we're looking for the highest votes in this activity. We lined up the G sheet with some other tickets and put the methods across the top and the what scenario down the side. In looking at these scores, our next step in a Kaizen rapid improvement event, it's actually spread over a couple of days, but really focused on this and making improvements, is to find those highest scores and figure out what do we do next and how do we mesh that with our tickets. But there's another section within this project in a project. And this one we took a high look at the common tasks, not in a landscape mapping sense where you put every task that possible on the map, but this one are for the common tasks that they do day to day. And the goal of this exercise was to evaluate the requests that can be a ticket in all of this, maybe identify some outliers, but a goal for the group was to gain consensus. Are they all on the same page? That when this request comes in, everyone knows it's a ticket. When this request comes in, we all know it's not a ticket. So we used what's a ticket. And the step that we worked with the most on the lean side was define and to analyze as we look through it. On the change management side, it was about awareness of what's going on, what things are we working with. But it's also about the desire by showing how much email they can save by physically moving all of these sticky notes over. It's like, yes, this can be a ticket. So they desire to do a better job and work with it in that way. And the tool, again, was the 5 whys. We did this part in 3 different waves while we're using this, again, Lucid Spark as the software. The tool in the 3 waves. First, they did a self-reflection. What do I know about? What can I put up here? Put it anywhere, whether it's your area of expertise or not. Secondly, they went into small groups within their realm of experience, and the fiscal people decided where to place the stickies. And we came back for a team discussion. And it was important as a team to handle what was in the maybe column. And there used to be a lot more. And the ones that are left there now are actually there because we ran out of time and they haven't gotten to it. And I have a feeling they'll move. But the one lone ticket up in the right-hand corner, I know the type is small, but no way this is a ticket. And it talks about, I need to schedule a meeting with you. And I thought that was great because that's a great example of what shouldn't be a ticket in a ticketing system. All right, so that's one aspect. And the third project in a project is the creation of the actual tickets themselves. But I like to call it Plan D. I mean, Plan A didn't work, Plan B and C didn't work, and we really are on Plan D with this aspect of it. Plan delay. So it started out as improvement. We're making forms and ticket setups to work with and improve this process to get things out of email. But it was so slow. And we use kind of the lean tool is called bottleneck analysis. Merged a little bit with a little fishbone to get into the areas of where this might be happening. 5 whys around that, a little bit of mapping. And it turns out that it kind of lies with our ServiceNow creators and department on our campus. But what we found out through conversations with them is it's about the capacity that they have. There's only so many people in so many projects. And then there's prioritization. And over the last couple of years, COVID, some other things happened that priorities didn't always work out in our favor. Complexity, we were pushing the boundaries of what we wanted these forms to do based on what is the normal form do. And if it goes beyond that, it takes a little more involvement, and then throw in budget with all of that. So we found out what the blocker was about. In our ServiceNow tickets that we're using, this is a sample of most of a form. It expands from this point. And you can see the fields, the drop downs, the click boxes, some instructions at the top, and some click-through links, pretty basic information. And this was taking 2 to 5 months from the point of, here's what we'd like, to the point of, it's ready for you now. 2 to 5 months. What had happened beyond that is I knew how to use Koali Build. Again, it's that third-party app with front-end forms and back-end workflows. After the first time of setting this up once, I was able to use the Koali Build form and email the results into ServiceNow. So I had full control on the front end of this form that has similar fields, similar instructions, ability to link, and still get the data into our ticketing system of ServiceNow in 1 to 7 days. So the variation in the 7 days is they publish weekly. And so if I hit it the same day and I give them all the information, it really is that simple. So that was quite a project. So I thought about talking about many of these projects. Like, how am I going to share about those? There's so much to choose from. But in each one of those, do they each have some value or takeaways to them? Well, let me ask you what you heard out of these projects and the tools. And this is a part of the guessing game. Are you all ready? Okay. I'll venture to say, I know many of the San Diego people will know this tool within Zoom, but if you would like to take a stab at answering one of the questions coming up, I'm just prepping you. If you go down to either the More section or you'll see it straight out, you're looking for reactions in your toolbar in Zoom below. If you find reactions, you can click on that and see raise your hand. And when you do that, it brings you to the top left of everybody's screen, so we know who's next. Thank you, Lauren. So with that, let me take you to our guessing game. So if you'd like to, based on what you've heard and seen today, tell me why any of these pictures is under the category that it is. Some of these are super simple. I mean, they have words on them, but others maybe not. And we'll go through them, but I want to give anyone a chance to take a stab at something that you think I've talked about might be a takeaway or a lesson learned, and why it's under the category it is. One of the projects, one of the lean tools or the physical tools, and some things you may have picked up about encouragement on why or how you can choose a talk. Lisa, and one per person, I forgot to add that part. Lisa, which one?
Good. I love your little 5Y logo there at the top of tools. And I appreciated your comments about how it's not always a root cause tool, how it's just also how we learn about the work that we're doing.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And yes, that one was cute and easy visually. 5 little question marks. Anybody else? There's some low-hanging fruit there. Linda.
The one I picked up and what I wrote down, the Gemba my heart out, was that in the middle under tools?
It is. Yeah, with the little stopwatch, the notepad, and a clipboard. Getting out and going into the workplace. Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Anybody else? Take 1 or 2 more, maybe? All right. I'm gonna tell you now, these pictures made me laugh so hard at one point, and we'll get to that part, but let's walk through a couple of them. In the projects, the hummingbird is small, but it's mighty. And maybe your project that you're thinking about talking about can have the power of a hummingbird. They can fly 500 miles or 800 kilometers in 21-hour stretch. And we talked about my project that felt very basic and small, but had a big reach to all the vice chancellors across campus and others. You can look outside of your scope if needed, like I did. Look beyond your own backyard. 2-for-1 approach, the tool or exercise for the sharing of lean and change management together, the marriage, the partnership, and keep going if needed, as needed. If there's no answer, is it still open? Keep working on it. If it's too large, keep working on the small parts. All right, well, let's take a look at tools. We guessed the top 2 and the bottom 2 were, as they state, the physical tools. Whoa, this scroll bar is killing me today. Lucid Spark, the mapping and whiteboarding. It's actually Lucid Chart for mapping and Lucid Spark for whiteboarding. Love this tool. A great benefit to this tool and other whiteboarding ones if you haven't used them electronically, but you can get full group engagement. And by doing that, they're anonymous. And if they're worried about who gave this answer or it might not fit with everybody else, they can put it on there. They don't have to raise their hand to give an answer. They can just type and put it up. It's a great benefit for some of our engagement. And Quali Build, like I said, the front end form, easy to make. Back end workflows, I didn't talk much about. I have some that are complex in pages and some that simply email it into ServiceNow and continue on with the ticket. All right, encouragement. Who even knows the name of what that thing is up there, right? It's a protractor. I used to use one years ago in a job. Why would that be important? Because it makes things that are perfect. Does your project need to be perfect before you talk about it? Does your speech need to be perfect? No, it doesn't have to be. There we go. Does your talk need to be data-driven? I did not have one chart, one line chart, graph, pie chart, anything. I didn't even give you statistics. I gave you a few core numbers. So it doesn't have to include that. This is my favorite. Nobody wanted to take a guess why donuts are under encouragement. It's not to get you to work with donuts. It's because what do you do with a full box of donuts? Do you keep it to yourself? Do you eat it? You'll get sick. You have to share it. Should I share my project with you all? Yes. Does it matter if it's too small, too large? No. And last but not least, will it be helpful? I hope so. Are there nuggets in this? Are there golden nuggets? Are there takeaways? Is there something that you can use later? So these messages in my talk or anybody's talk, they're received differently by different people, different countries. But what's relevant or important to me might not be for another person. So like I said, there's no perfect answer. There's no perfect talk. Share what you know, what you're working on. It may help someone else, which isn't that the point of Lean HE? Give a talk, have something to say. It's my turn to listen, your turn to talk, and I hope to see your presentation in 2023 or later today or tomorrow. Thank you very much. I have not been keeping an eye on the chat, so let's check in there, see what's going on. Appreciate you all being here.
Thank you so much, Kevin. That was a wonderful presentation.